he told me, he was like, I filed for divorce. And I was just like, and things just really, really got ugly after that because we really became enemies overnight.
Mm,
Mm.
I mean, it was crazy.
yeah.
We became enemies overnight. And it was like, I didn't know who he was. I mean, just to ask a question, the snapping and just the body language and the threats. And it was just, because by then lawyers are involved because I had to get a lawyer.
Hmm.
And I found out his lawyer was a church member. Next, keep going.
To talk about stories of divorce is never a place of joy and celebration. So the
Absolutely.
conversation is not to celebrate or victimize Nancy
Right.
or anything like that. She gets to have her feelings. I just want us to get on the same page. She gets to have feelings, perspectives, and views about an experience that she shared with another person. And you guys get to do the same. Not everyone has to align or agree with
Right.
those perspectives or views, but she has an experience. And so I just want you to understand that and understand that Sean and I, the views and opinion expressed, all that other stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
We come from a background where we value love, we value relationship, we value marriage. So we uphold that. Regardless of what perspective we take, we uphold the value that we place on marriage and relationships. So
What's up, Bravehearts community? This is Sean Heineman, your premier pre-engagement coach, back with another segment of It's Scary to Remarry, inspiring you to love fearlessly. I'm in the house with my co-host, Aqueela Maddox. How are you doing, Q?
I'm doing good. What's up, y'all? Aqueela the inspirational. Listen, as always, it's a pleasure to share the stage with you, sir.
For sure, for sure. Yes, today has been a day, so I'm definitely excited about this one. And this is a topic that we all can, we can feel on this topic of the Life After Divorce series. And we have our special guest with us today. But let me give you a little bit of information about today's guest. She is a native of Houston, Texas. Texas. I love Houston. I'm in Austin. I don't live in Texas. I mean, in Houston, but I love it there. And she started singing at the age of 4. She's a Christian artist and has worked as an English teacher for 17 years, a cheer coach, step team coach, choir director, and angelic voices sponsor, and a mom of 3. Bravehearts community, let's show some love to Nancy Michelle Taylor. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm doing really good today.
Well,
Good.
you look great.
Well, thank you. Had to come and get myself together there.
It's all good. It's all good. Yes, this topic, life after divorce, of course, scary to admit, right? Q, you've been there before. Nancy, I want to know a little bit more about you and going through your divorce. But first of all, I want to ask who inspired you to become the woman that you are today?
Oh, my mother.
Mm,
My mother, just inspiring me to, keep pushing through.
mm,
She said, baby, whatever you do, don't stop. Don't stop moving. Put one foot in front of the other every day. She said, if you can just put one foot in front of the other, she said, gotta keep going. So my mother really inspired me, especially when it was really, really dark in my
mm,
life.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to moms.
I was about to say that. Kudos to mom, you
Man,
know.
Yeah. Moms be that bedrock. So
oh
grateful.
yeah.
And of course, we spoke about you going through a divorce. And can you share some of your story and looking back, what lessons you have taken from that chapter of your life?
Yeah. So 2019.
Mm,
So 5 years ago, around this time, I found out, yeah, actually I was probably served maybe on this exact day, now that I think about it.
mm.
Today's the 20th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
today's the 20th.
yeah. hmm
Mm,
Uh 2019, I got a text message a Friday morning. And it was a text message that it was very disturbing when I read it. And it was from my husband, but he had tagged his parents. They were it was like a group message.
mm,
And it just I don't know, something wasn't right about it. And I ran to my principal and I was like, I think I need to go. I need to go check on him. And I just kept calling, kept calling. He didn't answer, kept calling. And I didn't know where he was. And so he finally called me back and said, well, I'm with my parents. I'm okay. I don't want you to leave work, just stay there, we'll talk later. And I'm like, okay. So, I just had this unsettling feeling in my spirit. But anyway, we talked a little bit, and about 6 days later, I was taking my daughter to school from a doctor's appointment, and he called and said he needs to talk to me. And he said, I don't think I want to be married anymore.
Mm,
Hmm?
mm,
Yeah.
And I was totally confused, blindsided by that statement.
yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, well, surely whatever is wrong, it can be fixed.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's going wrong? Now, the marriage wasn't perfect. We had a lot to happen. We became insta parents. His sister passed away in 2016. And
Wow.
so we got three of her children, and we ended up adopting them. So we became insta parents. So a lot happened. And, after a death, there's a grieving process. And, it was, it was difficult
Yeah.
to lose her, and it was just difficult. And so it didn't make sense to me when he said he didn't want to be married anymore. I didn't understand. But anyway, he talked to me a few days after that, and it was just all of these accusations, and I was just like, is he talking to me?
Hmm. Hmm.
you know and I'm trying to make sure I say what I need to say without saying
Yeah, for
too
sure.
much.
Yeah, whatever you
But
feel comfortable with.
yeah, it was a lot of accusations.
Mhm.
And I was just really confused because, like I said, after her death, it was kind of,
Yeah.
it wasn't a bad marriage, though.
Mm,
That's not my testimony that I had a bad marriage. My testimony is that I went through a bad divorce. And
mm,
so, I'm almost positive it was this day, I was served. We already had counseling set up. Then I got served, and it was just like, what is going on? Where is this coming from? Before September, you saying how much you love me in the pulpit.
mm,
He was a pastor. He is a pastor.
mm,
So I'm not understanding, what's going on. So we go to counseling. Probably it was maybe a couple of days either before or after Thanksgiving 2019. And I mean, there was just more accusation. And I'm just like, where is this coming from? Our
mm,
anniversary was August 4th of that year. And every year, what we would do is sit down and we would talk and say, hey, you know what? Let's reevaluate this year. What can I do to be a better wife?
mm,
And it was always, oh, you're doing a great job. And, you know, so I'm just confused as to where this is coming from. And so, and I mean, after he told me, he was like, I filed for divorce. And I was just like, and things just really, really got ugly after that because we really became enemies overnight.
mm.
Mm.
I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
We became enemies overnight. And it was like, I didn't know who he was. I mean, just to ask a question, the snapping and just the body language and the threats. And it was just, because by then lawyers are involved because I had to get a lawyer.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I found out his lawyer was a church member. Next, keep going.
Mm,
Um, so it was just a lot of things that just wasn't right about it. Like it was real tacky.
mm,
So going through all of that, we stayed in the house together up until February was when he finally moved out. And we went to court early March, we had two court days. So we went late February, early March. And because he had took the kids with him, because again, those are his sister's kids.
mm,
Went to court, and the judge ordered us to move in and out, ordered the kids back into the home, and he ordered us to move in and out of the home. And it was just, things just got really, really ugly. I mean, I'm not from Tyler. So, of course, his family was my family.
mm,
So I went from having family to not having family. And so I did eventually stop going to the church mid February. I I couldn't take the insults anymore.
Yeah.
And I tried to hold true to the vows to the end, because I was praying.
Mm-hmm.
I was praying that God would turn things around. Because like I said, I did not see it coming. And when I did feel some strain in the marriage, I was like, hey, what's going on? And of course it was, of course, the grief of his sister and, God has me in the wilderness, but it was never anything about me and the marriage. You never told me that,
Mm.
you know. And so as time went on, I had to find out that other people knew how he felt,
Oh, wow.
but I didn't know,
Yeah.
and of course, people are going to spread rumors, and Tyler is a small town, but it's a big town,
Mm-hmm.
and so it was very public. The screenshots was being circulated throughout the screenshots of the divorce decree were going throughout the community of the African American church, and
Mm-hmm.
You talking
so
about Tyler, Texas, that's
Tyler,
south of Dallas?
yes, ma'am,
Because I
yes,
used to live in Dallas, so
okay, yeah, and Tyler smack dab in between
I know where it's at. I
Shreveport.
actually know people who are from Tyler.
Mhm. Yeah, so screenshots being shared around. So I went into well, the shutdown happened, which
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
you know
Mhm.
kind
Yep.
of helped in a sense because I didn't have to see people.
Mm.
I was embarrassed at what I was going through. My husband left me.
Yeah.
He left me, like, and shutdown happened. I would see people in the store, hey,
Mm.
and it was just like, whoa, the church people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I served in his dad's ministry for 10 years as a minister of music. And then I served at, we had only been at the church where we were since February of 2018.
Mm.
And so we were not there long before all of this started, you know.
Mm.
And, I tell people I'm a very transparent, honest person.
Yeah.
When we first got there, I did. I said I didn't want to be there. I said it.
Mm.
I did. We had been through so much. And then taking on a full-time ministry.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
And my spirit, I'm gonna be my spirit. When he told me that he was taking that church, my spirit was in a tussle from the very moment he said it.
Yeah.
Because and I could be wrong, because I'm not God,
Right.
but I didn't believe that God was really doing it. I think he was trying to fill the shoes of following in the footsteps of his dad, me personally.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
But it was so much going on, and the load was heavy for me.
Yeah.
Nobody ever checked on how I was doing.
Mm.
We're married, we got the kids. I'm coaching, the kids are in football, the kids are in soccer, we got cheerleading going on. We got all of these things going on, and now we're taking on a full-time ministry.
Mm.
So anyway, the pandemic happens, there's the shutdown, and again, we're moving in and out. And we had mediation June of 2020, 10 hours of mediation. And
Wow.
my lawyer, she prepped me. She said, I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They want to wear you out so that you'll give up. And so when I tell you it was a brutal, long, very draining, emotional 10 hours, it was the longest 10
It could
hours,
have been the happiest 10. 10 hours is a long time
long
to
time
talk to
to
anybody.
talk to anybody. And you have this mediator going back and forth from room to room. She sits in your room and goes through all of this stuff you're trying to sort out. And then, okay, let me take them back. Tell him what you said, you
Mm.
know. So we're going through that. So anyway, 10 hours, we signed the paperwork, the unofficial documents, and the divorce was final in July of 2020. Then after that, it just more and more kept coming.
Wow.
It was
Just give us some highlights. What was the more and more that kept coming?
um so the judge ordered 50-50. That's how he wanted it to stay. The mediator was like, you can go to court if you want and spend thousands of dollars,
Mm.
or she said, but if the judge ordered you 50-50, he's probably going to keep it 50-50 because there's a reason why he did that. So after that, he wanted the custody of the children to change. And so I wasn't really for that. And then there was little stuff. Oh, you put this on Facebook. You put that on Facebook. You said you was his mom, you know. So I wasn't the mom anymore because we were divorced. So anyway, I was served exactly 6 months to the day, January 20th, 2021, with custody papers.
And this was for the kiddos that you guys assumed the responsibility for. Is that where a lot of the discussions were?
Yes.
And so just to understand, are you stating that you wanted to be still a part of those kiddos' lives and they were trying to remove you? Am I understanding correctly?
Right.
And you
We
were fighting.
legally adopted the kids.
So you wanted to, I just want to be clear because I want the people to understand and I want to understand. So
Right.
y'all legally adopted them, but even though those were his sister's kids, you still wanted to be a part of their lives. Is that what the fight, part of the custodial battle was about?
Absolutely.
That's
So
first of all honorable. Can we just take out 5 minutes? 5 seconds for a moment of just silence and congratulating the commitment and the devotion,
yes,
because unfortunately, it's oftentimes assumed that when people in a marriage take on the other person,
mm-hmm.
Can y'all still see me? It gave me a little
I can
unstableness.
see you.
Yeah, you
Okay.
mm-hmm.
It said that, like, oh, you didn't really want to be bothered with them because they're not your family directly. Mm-hmm. So for me to hear this, first of all, it warms my heart because that's the devotion that really should come with us when we're married. Like when we're married and we assume that person, we assume we care for the things we should be caring for, the things that they care for. And I feel like it shouldn't be so easily dismissed just because divorce happens.
Right.
Our emotions, the investment, our care should still be, going forward. So I just wanted to honor, number one, that. And this is, and before we continue, let's be clear. To talk about stories of divorce is never a place of joy and celebration.
Absolutely.
So the conversation is not to celebrate or victimize Nancy or anything like that. She gets to have her feelings. I just want us to get on the same page. She gets to have feelings, perspectives, and views about an experience that she shared with another person. And you guys get to do the same. Not everyone has to align or agree with those perspectives or views, but she has an experience. And so I just want you to understand that, and understand that Sean and I, the views and opinion expressed, all that other stuff. We come from a background where we value love, we value relationship, we value marriage. So we uphold that. Regardless of what perspective we take, we uphold the value that we place on marriage and relationships. So do understand that. Now with Miss Nancy sharing her perspective, there's so much that can come in this, but between affirming other people feeling a similar way, because I'm sure somebody has had an experience like this where the rug was ripped away from under them. And we just talked about this on another recording. I was just saying, when the Bible says the two should become one flesh, that means that what I feel, you should feel. And we were talking about feelings, and I stated, when people don't share their feelings, how can I become the one flesh with you?
Right.
When I don't know what you're feeling, I'm in the dark. I'm in the dark. I am. You are removing and disconnecting from the intimate place that we are supposed to be sharing. Mm-hmm. So for this to be, it ain't about victimizing, but let's talk about, that's rough to be the last person to find out the feelings of your husband and the distance or whatever, whatever he was feeling inside that said he wanted to get to this place. That just sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's people on Instagram Live saying that I understand I had a bad marriage followed by a bad divorce. And a lot of people in the comments are saying that they've been through a divorce. And one lady said she's in Dallas. One lady said he left and unfounded accusations were mentally draining. So there's people that's actually has been through that process. So
we commend you for sharing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, I had people telling me, girl, leave them kids. Drop them kids.
I can imagine.
And for the life of me, I was like, how could you just do that?
Yeah.
And is that even biblical?
Right.
And the second thing is the baby at the time, we brought him home from the hospital. We are the only parents that he knows.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was just like, how could people even tell me to walk out on the kids? Now, the older two just lost a birth mother.
Yeah.
Now they gained another mother. And
House
people,
again.
I was honestly, people say, I don't see how I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Well, God didn't call you to do it. He called
Amen.
me to do it.
Because that's the difference. Conviction
Absolutely.
is that conviction that you have. That's why it's so beautiful that, thank God, like, everybody, I'm the reason that my children mean what they mean to me and the sacrifices that I make for them, there's a conviction that's attached to that
Right.
relationship. So that's okay. We give people full permission to know what their limits are and what they can't do. But I honor the conviction that you have to still be connected to the kiddos that you did not birth out of your womb, that were not tied to your biological blood family, but you understand the covenant that came with marriage. You understand?
Yes,
To where
ma'am.
that thing, it should run like it's your blood, y'all. Like when you understand a blood covenant,
Mhm.
that means that covenant you make should run like it's your relative in and of itself. And that's the version of commitment and devotion that marriage really calls for, that people water down.
Right.
So that's amazing. But I want us to get to some questions because Sean, let me tell you, the lineup is gonna be great. But that's such a good intro because, for one, I want to also say too, I'm sorry for your experience, because I think the Bible says God hates divorce, people be like, I believe when God say this, I believe when the Bible talks about God hating divorce, it's the divisiveness that it causes us
Yes.
all as a family, as
Yes.
individuals, the side that people are taking on, the
Yes.
impact that it has on the kids. I don't think it's just from a legalistic standpoint to
Absolutely.
cause people to be arrested to being in relationship together. It's the heartbreak, the pain that comes with
With it.
the division, the unity, the becoming one flesh is a ripping in order for you to become individual again. And having gone through a divorce, and like you said, and knowing that pain so unfortunately well, this wasn't something that, God knew we would just all get over in 2 seconds. Now, for somebody,
Right.
marriage and the relationship connection wasn't that weighty, maybe that's your testimony. But when you know that your connection lies deep, the tearing up is what God is. I believe the convictions of the Lord is, I don't want to see my children, because
Right.
your husband is still his child. Right?
Absolutely.
Your kids, those babies y'all adopted, it don't matter. All of them are God's kids, and God is like, I don't want them going through this.
Right.
So I believe that's why God hates divorce.
And when you said that, I going through it, I said to myself, I see why he said that.
Do you hear me?
Because when I tell you it tore up friendships,
Mhm.
Oh,
people left the church, when I the relationship with the kids, I mean, it was all of that.
yeah,
It was all of that.
yeah,
Mhm.
And when I said, I remember sitting in my closet, I would pray in my closet, and I remember saying, God, I understand
yeah.
why you said
I
that.
did too,
Because
girl.
like I told you, we became enemies. I mean, like overnight, it was just like, I don't even know who this guy is.
Mhm.
Yeah,
It was crazy, but just like you said, it's like ripping apart.
it
Yeah.
is.
And it was the bond that I had with his family. I
Yeah.
mean, I was close.
People don't know you be mourning out here. You
Man,
mourn your mother-in-law, you
let me
mourn
tell
your
you,
father-in-law, you
let me
mourn
tell you,
those siblings that you take on.
my
And
nieces
here's
and
the
nephew,
thing,
let me tell you,
Mhm.
just relationship just torn apart.
Yeah.
Jesus.
That's yeah, and that's the thing. And like you said about becoming enemies overnight, because I remember going through my divorce, and for some odd reason, I don't know, I thought my ex-wife and I would be cool, like because we were talking, like we had decent conversations while going through this divorce, but once the wheels started to turn and once, the paperwork started drawing up, everything changed.
Because it became real.
Yeah, it became
Hmm.
real. Yeah.
It
And
became
in the comment section, lady says the social media search stuff is the crazy part. She says she been there too.
Mm-hmm.
So that's real. She said I went into a horrible drinking Chardonnay phase that caused me tons of financial loss and the trouble years ago. Jail time, wrecked car, etc. is truly a story. It doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Yeah. And we ain't gonna talk about the money spent
Oh,
on
honey.
legal fees. I'm almost done. Look, I'm almost done.
Okay. And
Mm,
it's been what you say, 5 years?
Yeah.
See
yeah.
what I'm saying? Yeah. The devastation alone, like the Bible, I'm saying, so the Bible says be fruitful and multiply. Can you imagine what it looks like now to have all this disrupted fruit? It's like you have this harvest and all this harvest just it's like having a bunch of trees. You get, I mean, a bunch of fruit that them fall that is falling from the trees. But because we had two people who could gather this harvest and manage this fruitfulness, it was
Right.
doable. Now we have to divide this up. There's things that are going to be missed. There's things
Mm-hmm.
that are not going to be caught up. There's things that are going that's going to be wasted. There's just so much. Like I don't think people really that we it's the reality. Everybody don't see it the same. Sean,
Right.
give us these questions. I'm
Oh
ready.
yeah, no, for sure. Because I know this is something that we, have all witnessed. Well, first of all, Nancy, is there any other part that you want to tell about this process? Is there anything else you want to share before we
I
move?
mean, after the being served with, with the custody of the kids, I remember God telling me, he said, I got you.
Mm,
And we went to had another mediation. It didn't last long.
yeah.
Um, because neither one of us were really knowledgeable of the law, family law.
Hmm.
And so what I did find out is, when you adopt children, Texas does not play about the adopted mother.
Yeah.
And so, we learned a lot, went to court to what, for 3 days.
Hmm.
And you know, the judge kept it the same way and
Hmm.
actually gave more time because Anaya my baby at the time was about 14
Hmm.
and she wanted more time with me because she's getting older,
Hmm.
Yeah.
you
She's a
know.
girl.
She's a girl,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, God worked that thing out, nothing changed.
Hmm.
And
That's
here
good.
we are, five
That's
years later, still.
how you holding up, Miss Nancy.
Oh, God is good.
Mhm.
I'm doing very well. I look back and I'm just like, man, God, you are amazing.
Yeah.
You are amazing.
Yeah, because shout out to the homie Jason. You
Yes,
know Jason. He was like, man, you have to get in touch with Nancy.
man, let me tell
Have
you,
to, you have to. So
that's my friend. That's my
yeah,
friend.
for sure. I love him. How do you balance being a mom, managing a household, and pursuing personal and professional goals?
I will be honest, it is very difficult. And they tell me all the time, I don't know how you do it.
Hmm.
Now, I will say that the 50-50 does help
Hmm.
some because like this week, they're not with me this week. So I have been able to balance everything. So like singing engagements, I try to only put those on the weekends when I don't have them so that it's not as much ripping and running or, depending on if it's an all day thing, I have to find a babysitter. So, I try to be really strategic about that. I went back to school 2 years ago. I finished my master's degree last December.
Wow.
So,
Congratulations.
I it was tough.
Yeah.
Football practice. We got line guard during football season. We got soccer practice, and I was doing homework in the car. And even in between that, having studio sessions, recording music, I look back and I even ask myself, girl, how did you do that?
Yeah.
It wasn't me, it was all God. I know where my help comes from.
Amen.
So it's a lot. But, the kids going to school in close proximity, that helps me as well. So, and the older two, they're actually on campus with me now. So, that it kind of got easier when they got there. So they're sophomores now. So things got easier when they got there. So, but yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot. But, like I said, I have to juggle, when they're
Mhm.
here for the week. I pick the two up, go pick the baby up.
Yeah.
drop them off, start dinner, drop just as off his soccer practice. Sometimes I stay if he want me to stay, or I go home, finish cooking dinner, then I go pick him up, then we eat, get him in the tub. So I mean, some days it's like that, you know. I get out of cheer practice, he's getting out of football practice, and now he's getting out of basketball practice. So some days it's like that. But you know, I make it work.
Make it work. Yeah, for
That's good.
sure. And like you said, that 50-50 thing probably helped you a little bit too,
It
because
does.
it just
Absolutely.
some kind of a breather somewhat, just
Yes. Yes.
yeah, for sure. How important is a support system for single moms, and what advice do you give to others seeking some?
Oh wow. Yeah. That support system is real. Now I will say I don't really have that same support system like I did when we were married because like I said, you know, like you said, it ripped. A
Hmm.
lot of people just kind of walked away, but I do have a small circle.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I believe it's important to have like-minded people in your life, people that have a heart for you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It is so important to have people like that in your life, especially being a single mom and then you know, getting overwhelmed at times. You know, I thank God for I call them my errands and my hers.
Hmm.
You know, so when I get tired, they can hold my hands up. You
Yeah.
know, I thank God for the people that He put in my life. You know, even when I'm going through spiritually. My brother is a big support to me. You know, even sometimes, hey, I need you to go, you know, pick Ash up. Can you get there? You know,
Yeah.
but like I said, having that like-minded, those like-minded people, people that have your heart, that can pray with you, that can, you know, Jason is one of those people. You
Yeah.
know, I'm gonna tell you, Jason will call me out of the blue
Yeah.
and be like, sis, what's going on? I'd be like, he was like, I felt you in my spirit. I felt you in
Yeah.
my spirit. I mean, or he'll text and send a song at the right time. And it's like, you know, even though that may not seem like something big to somebody else,
Mm.
it's like the Lord knows what we need when we need it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Sure.
And so
Amen.
I would encourage people when you're looking or needing that support system, it has to be
Mm.
like-minded people.
Yeah.
And it
But
gotta be
get you one
somebody.
though, is what you're saying though too. Make sure you
Yes,
have one. It's a
yes, make sure.
necessity.
Yes, it is. It's a necessity.
Mm.
There's
Mhm.
you're gonna need somebody to lean on.
You are.
Mm.
You
Amen.
are.
Yeah.
And can I interject because
Mhm.
when you're talking about all the ripping that has happened through those other relationships that you had at one point,
Mhm.
I understand and understand how having trust issues is a real thing when it comes to like reestablishing or rebuilding, because many times we pride ourselves on the relationships that have tenure, the
Mhm.
relationships where we've known people the longest time.
Oh
So
yeah,
letting somebody in new, and then I got to fill you in on everything that don't win. I
everything.
don't want to have to fill you
I
in.
won't have to do
I
all
want
that
you
no
to
more.
already know.
Mm-mm.
I want you to
Mm-mm.
already know and be down like four flats on a Cadillac.
That
Mhm.
But I
part.
want to say and encourage, and I got a question, but I want to say for one and encourage, like, it's worth establishing the confidence in people again so that you can build that community. But for you, when you say you now have a solid, you know, you got some people, are any of those people new relationships that were developed after the divorce? And if they are, what was it like rebuilding the trust and then building those relationships?
No, none of them are new.
None of them are new. Okay.
Mm.
Well, you have to
Uh,
add me to the list because y'all,
some
it's one. Amen.
now some of them I may not have been as close to
Mm.
That's still developing.
prior. So okay. But like it ain't nobody just brand new.
Brand new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right,
Okay. So
right.
y'all, she really not gonna let me in without my application and my fees
Yeah.
at the end. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
No.
She said no new friends.
It's just
It
nobody
is.
brand and but you said it right. You know, it's those trust. I mean, I lost my best friend of almost 15 years through with this divorce,
Jesus.
you know? And so yeah, I'm just not like,
Yeah.
you know, like if I see somebody trying to get close, I'm looking.
What you want?
Like, you know, what are your motives? Yeah,
Exactly.
I am. I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, I see you. Uh-huh. What do you know? And I just rather not.
Yeah.
I understand.
I just rather not.
She tiptoeing, y'all. She
Yeah,
tiptoeing.
I
Yeah,
am.
understood. I got
And
it.
you know what? I have prayed, and I have prayed and recently prayed, Lord, if I want to open up to some new friends, but Lord, I need you to send them because you know the type of friend I need. You know your child.
Mhm.
Yeah.
As you know, my cutoff game is real quick. So
Mhm.
yeah. So but yeah, it's I've gotten closer. People that were already in my life, and our relationship has grown to a different level. So,
Yes. Okay.
Mhm. I I want to ask a kind of want to switch gears just a little bit.
okay.
So let's let's talk about this. What has been your experience like navigating the dating world as a single mom? And what advice do you offer to others in similar situations?
I don't know what to tell nobody. Let me tell you something. Because this dating world, oh, I hate it. I've I've been on some dates, um, but I hate it. I hate it because people are not truthful. Um, I can't tell you how many married people, men, reaching out and then I done had 7 or 8 pastors, and I was like, Lord, can you move me away from the pastoralship, please? Can you do I have to be a pastor's wife again? Lord, I don't want to be a pastor's
You
wife.
don't have to be.
Yeah, thank you. But
Yeah.
yeah, the few people that I have kind of chit-chatted with on the phone, to be honest with you, I won't talk on the phone with them on the weeks I have my kids. They're they're a bit overprotective,
Yeah.
especially I have a 15-year-old son, and he's just not having it. He thinks that I need to wait till he's 20 to date.
That
Um,
means that means 35 in his world. Nobody
right.
has time.
I mean, when I tell you like they are like so serious, I mean, I do not, I will not talk on the phone while if they're home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A couple times that I've tried, I tried to, go off, you try to go off and have, lock your
Let's
door.
do a little cupcake and
Look,
so
yeah, lock the door. They didn't figure out how to use the little thing to unlock the door. And who is that? And I'm like, they just won't let me be great.
she said they won't. They won't.
They won't, but it's
It may never change this. My son is 23.
oh,
It just may never change. My son is never, he may never.
really? Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. 23 years old and smooth. If when we talk and stuff, so you dating somebody? Cut it out right now. What?
Wow.
He's like, Ma, you don't even need nobody to date. You got Jesus.
I'm telling you, we were at the bowling alley. And I just took the kids bowling, and I saw one of my friends. He played the drums. See him around at church or whatever. He's a lot younger than me. Well, his cousin was in town. They were all playing bowling. So he said, "Hey, are you dating anybody?" And I was like, "No." He was like, "My cousin want to meet you." So he walks over, grabs my hand, walks me to his cousin. My son put the bowling ball down.
Do you
So the
hear
guy's
me?
like, "Hey, how are you? My name is such and such." We shaking hands. Walks over there, stands in between us, and
What's
says,
going on?
he said, "What
Yeah.
are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I'm looking like
We supposed to be bowling,
I'm
Ma.
meeting
That's all
somebody.
he on.
And all he said was, "What are you doing?" I mean, like his face was so serious. He was like, "What are you doing?" Then he grabs my hand and walks me off. And I was just like, that was the first time that had ever happened. I mean,
I
he
got you. He'll
he
be
was
probably
not
30.
happy.
He probably
Oh,
gonna be 30.
he was not happy about it at all. But I
And
mean,
understandably so. You know what I'm saying? Having been a witness, and I remember my parents going through a divorce, and how I was overprotective over both of my parents. I didn't want them dating new people. I can't say I don't understand that from a child's
gotcha.
point of view, for sure. Wanting, you know, really, it's almost even like having the hope that something can be reestablished that we prefer.
Reestablished.
Like,
Yeah, my daughter,
so
she's mentioned that before.
yeah, so I don't want you to go do anything that look like it ain't what we're used to. I
Mm-hmm.
can
Mm-hmm.
understand that. Like I said, as a child, my parents separated first. And if a man gave my mama a compliment, and I'm just like, do not say thank you. Like in my mind, I'm
Yeah.
like, because not in real life. But I do understand their protection around that. And then having gone through divorce and then seeing my son and stuff like that, and his response, I can say I understand, but they want to be protective in a good way. They want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that they protect your heart. They want to make sure they protect your experience. And then in some ways, because there has been so much division, I've already
Yes.
lost the system of our home the way I'm used to. I don't want to lose again, because now this new person comes and that's something else I got to adjust to. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a whole lot of things that are attached to them moving that way. But that I will co-sign, dating is definitely different. And after you've been married and had the consistency,
I
the
know.
partnership, I've learned that not everybody knows about partnership, Sean.
Oh yeah.
Nancy, they out here, they're a lot of, I'm be honest, I've dated some guys I think are really good, but they've been so used to doing everything by themselves. There's no
Yeah.
place for me.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's not that we can't do the things together. I feel like, well, we can do the things together, but they like, oh, we
Right.
already got this on lock. I got this going, that going, this. And I'm like, well, where do I come in?
Hmm.
And then the other alternative is not really that it's the only two, but from my experience, they've had bad experiences with marriage and stuff like that. So,
Right.
and dating, because dating is weird for the men too, y'all. The dating is
Hmm.
weird for the men because the girlies out here, I saw a lady do a video and said, girlies, y'all naked at brunch. Why? So she did a whole little rant about how she said, the girlies, y'all are making the
Yeah.
men uncomfortable. And so my point is, there is also a change in women and how they're showing up and stuff too, whether it's relationally, presentation, or whatever.
Hmm.
Even for some of the ladies that we're seeing on, the social platforms, a lot of the men that when they're exposed to this, they think we're all that. They think we all go in the bucket of what they're seeing on social media. So
Right.
the women who are like, I'm not going to what's the restaurant, y'all, that went viral?
Oh, yeah, I
Cheese
forgot.
Factory. I'm not going to Cheese Factory
Oh
for no.
yeah, I forgot
Oh,
about
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was about
yeah.
to
So they, because they think that's one. I literally went connected with a couple of men just in my dating app, and that was almost like a preface for most of them.
say.
If you got a problem with Cake Factory, don't even come over here. I'm like, y'all. But they're concerned that what they consider regular living in life and dating and stuff like that, they're putting on there. My first date is at a coffee shop, so don't even come to me if you're expecting this, and this. We go into the coffee shop anyway, so you can keep pushing if you want a steakhouse, because they're saying before I start to do these heavier investing. So dating is
Right.
here for the men as well as the women. The world is evolving and changing
Yep.
in a
Yes.
way that sometimes we just may not find our place right away. You may not find
Right.
your person,
Hmm.
expeditiously, but
Experiences. Yeah.
be encouraged, sis. Be encouraged.
I'm trying because like I said, I found out the truth. I got one guy, his girlfriend called my phone. I was like,
Oh.
yeah. So I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna sit my tail down and I'm gonna I
Absolutely
honestly
not.
have no advice for anybody. I've here recently I've been thinking about maybe I should join one of these dating sites. I don't know. I'm considering it. I mean, I'm 5 years out.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
There was one guy, maybe he was talking a real good game. Then he was like, I don't think you have time for me.
He
He's like,
wasn't a
you're so
pastor, was he?
busy. No, he wasn't. He
Okay.
was not. Thank you, Lord. But I mean, he was nice looking. I mean, he said everything right. And then just out the blue, was just like, I don't think you have time for me. He was wanting me to move back to Houston. And I was like, wait, we didn't even start dating yet.
Wow. He wanted you to move and y'all were
He,
just talking.
he said he didn't want to be my part-time, but I was like, you didn't even give me a chance. I mean, because I know that when I start dating, I'm gonna have to cut out some of the things that I do.
Of course.
I may not sing. I might only sing once this month
Hmm.
Yeah.
versus 3 weekends this month.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you didn't give me a chance, sir,
Mm.
to
That's again
adjust.
different for different stroke, girl, for the different
Different
folks.
folks, right? So,
Gotta,
but yeah, so I'm just kind of chilling.
got you.
But
Gotta
you know
have
what?
them.
Maybe if I just chill, then that's when he'll pop up.
Yeah. Gotta have those fruits of the spirit. It seemed like he didn't have that patience.
Mm-mm, no.
For sure. So I want to add a little, something different to the show. My wife and I created an intimacy card deck questions where we ask questions, considering relationships or marriage, wherever phase that you are in your relationship. So it's come from a husband and wife putting their heads together, putting all the years of coaching and all that other good stuff and hearing from people. And so I know you have a lot of intimacy, well, not intimacy, but a lot of card decks where there's just like one person, but this is a husband and wife doing this, so it's very even on a playing field. So I want to ask you a question, Nancy, from the card deck.
Okay.
All right, let's go. How did you manage hurt and disappointment growing up?
Ooh. You know, I think I just threw it to the side and kept going,
Mm,
to be honest with you.
mm,
Um, being molested as a young girl, and I don't know, I've always told my mom, I said, I feel like God wired me different. And I've never been able to um hold grudges.
mm,
I'm not good at it.
mm,
And my god sister says, "Girl, you're just so forgiving." She always says that about me.
mm,
And even with my dad, not being there, you know, growing up my whole life, not having him there, that it was hurtful for me growing up because I would look at my other friends, even though their parents weren't married, their dad was still involved.
mm.
And, I would, feel a type of way about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't think I really dealt with what I felt until I started going through the divorce. Then all of this, everything came up.
Mm,
So, growing up, I don't think I dealt with it at all. I just kind of brushed it aside. I felt what I felt, but I kept going.
mm, mm,
And then when I was 37, my dad came to live with me. And I was like, how do I be his daughter?
mm.
I don't, and at the time I was still married. So me and my ex-father-in-law were, when I tell you white on rice, we was
Yeah.
white on rice,
Yeah.
and I was like, what do I do? What do I say? Like, I don't really know this man.
Mm,
I know he's my dad. I would see him from time to time growing up, but I don't know him like that,
yeah.
And so even going through the divorce, God allowed me to have time with my dad because my dad was here when everything happened. When
Mm,
I got served, my dad was here. When he left, my dad was here. My dad, and then he actually left after I got served because he thought it was his fault, you know, and he came back because I was like, don't leave me now.
mm,
I don't need you to leave me again. And my daddy came back, y'all.
That's awesome.
And
wow.
he stayed with me. He
Wow.
stayed here almost 2 years.
Yeah.
Boy, it was really time for him to go. But, I got that experience with him. I had my first breakfast with him during this time. Like, I had a bunch of firsts with him,
Mm,
so we were able to do some healing, and I was still going to counseling and was able to deal with those feelings from my childhood.
mm,
But growing up, I I didn't I didn't deal with them. I just kind of like, okay, well, okay, I'm just throw that to the side and just ignore it and
yeah.
keep going.
Understood. Yeah, I was telling Aquila in the last episode that I grew up in that era of children should be seen and not heard. So um it stunted some of my growth emotionally the older I got, especially being a man, right? Because we just kind of talked about that, Q, where
Right.
you know with men it's almost like not socially acceptable. Well, I think it's starting to change a little bit.
Oh,
And
I do too. I do
And
too.
yeah,
but it
men
was
start to
dismissed. It
change.
was dismissed, yeah, before.
Yeah, it was, and it was just that continual pattern until I was able to learn how to speak up for myself and how I truly feel, and not just say I was mad, you know, like
Right,
I
right.
feel alone or I feel abandoned. Like
Hmm.
when you use different words, people hear different, depending on who it is.
Right.
I do believe healed people hear differently.
They
Uh,
do.
so
They do.
And
yeah.
I remember, even with that, I was again, because my closet was just my safe space. And I remember just sitting in there and I, just kind of just thinking. And I remember the word rejection came up. And
Mm,
it's like the enemy was just really just kind of, putting those things in my mind. I was like, man, I've been rejected my whole life.
mm,
Every man that I ever loved rejected me. And I kind of had a little pity party there for a second, but I started to look back. I was like, dang, my daddy left me, you know,
yeah.
he was supposed to protect me as a young girl being molested. He didn't do that.
Mm,
And then I was like, and now my husband left me. And instead of protecting me, he gave passed out bullets
mm,
for other people to shoot me with. And
mm,
so, I had a little pity party, But like I said, I'm so therapy was the best decision that I made. And it was actually the marriage counselor. He a very wise older man. He said, I would love to walk through this with you. And
mm.
that was the best decision that I ever made was to keep going,
Wow.
It's good.
to keep
Mm,
going. And he was heaven sent. He was
That's
heaven
good.
sent.
yeah. I love it. I love it. I have one more question before we end this episode. Aquila, was there anything that you wanted to say from me? I know we kind of, is
Oh
anything,
yeah.
any ground that you want to
When
cover?
when you talked about the question of, you know, how did you respond to disappointment and stuff, I think, and you kind of opened the door, is what many of us lack, especially as a child, is the vocabulary. Like
Right.
we lack the vocabulary to be able to speak to what are we really feeling.
What
We
are we
we
feeling?
probably learn about a few good words, angry, sad,
Hmm.
or some. We don't learn that not everything is anger. Some things is disappointment. Not
Right.
everything, and even down to, if I may, just encourage you to look at, to expand your vision around it. Not everything is rejection.
Right.
And I say that because sometimes people, when they're making their decision, it literally has nothing to do with us.
Mhm.
Mm,
So, growing up also to having, like, my own challenges around, like, I didn't know my dad. My dad doesn't know I exist. My biological father doesn't know he even made a baby.
Wow.
My mother never told him, and things like that. So the dad I grew up with was my dad, that my mother made later got with when I was about 4. But I learned, and I we had, there was such a story. But what I'm saying is at some point, we, similar to yours, we had to do life in my adulthood. So
Mhm.
I tell people that, or I've learned that my dad was my dad, but he became a father figure later in life.
Mhm.
And it was actually probably in the same context, like going through this separation. And my dad even assumed responsibility in some cases for what I was going through and blah, blah, blah. But what I learned while talking to my dad was there were some things, and I don't think many of us give room and, space for people to really just not be adequately prepared for whatever the roles are.
Right.
And when they don't have that confidence that they can learn how to be prepared, them denying the responsibility is not denying you. It's not them rejecting you. It's them saying, I don't want to set me and this person up to fail. And while women have this keen sense, and many of the times, to still assume the responsibility, even if we don't do it well, we trying, is what I'm saying.
Right.
We might be feeding that baby fast food while we try to manage
mm,
work, school, and all this stuff, because we're not going to give up the responsibility. We have this, keen sense of like, I feel like it's an excess of drive to continue to do this and being thrusted in those responsibilities. It doesn't necessarily make us better. It doesn't even make it right, because some of us assume responsibility for things because we put ourselves in those situations. But if everybody was honest with their inadequacies, there are women who look just like some of the men who don't feel adequate, who don't feel prepared. And when anybody walks away from that, people always down them. But here's the downside to making somebody be in a position that they're not ready for. That's where rejection comes. Because now, so even with my daughter's dad, he wasn't the best father figure. And once I learned and I observed that, I never forced him to parent, because I saw that it would make her feel, I knew it would produce rejection in her, because she's going to interpret him not choosing to spend time. He's in the room with me, but he's not doing the things. That's rejection. But him removing himself or not signing up to do things he know he couldn't maintain consistency and stuff like that, that was him making a decision to actually not reject you. It was him saying, I'm trying not to be on your bad side. And so I think that there are times when we lack the vocabulary, which I think therapy is really good, because it opens up our mind's eye to see it more vast than what we are seeing it. And we have to give ourselves permission to be kids with a kid view. With a kid view, we ain't gonna see it as intellectual as we are when we're adults. So, but yeah, I do think that many of us didn't have the words and the vocabulary when we were younger. We didn't know, and we don't. Like I've had these conversations with my kids now, but that's through this lens.
Right.
When my mom was a parent and my dad was, cultivating, intellect and all that in us, they weren't giving us words for our feelings and ways to communicate and things like that. So that's my 2 cents that I wanted to add.
That's real. That's a conversation piece, talking about the emotions.
That is.
It had that emotional wheel, to Google that emotional wheel. What's one piece of advice or encouragement or wisdom you would like to share with other single moms who may feel overwhelmed or alone?
Wow. Because I know that feeling all too well, but I will say this with my journey, going through all of this, I got so much closer to God, more consistent with him. And what I would encourage single moms going through the same thing and feeling alone. I mean, do I have a man here with me? No, I don't. But what I've learned is that I'm never alone. And I'm a very spiritual woman. So, I know everybody may not be there in their walk with the Lord. And I know there's some people that don't even believe, but I do. And so where I am with my relationship with Christ is that, and yeah, sometimes I do. I feel alone, but I know that I'm not alone. I know God is with me, and I know that in his time, whoever he decides for me to, have, that I'll have, and, in those moments when you're feeling overwhelmed, sometimes you just got to stop.
Yeah.
And I, you know what? I've had to do that myself. Sometimes you just got to stop.
Yeah.
I can't do this. You know what? I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We can't go here.
Yeah.
We can't go there. We just can't do it. I just don't have the mental capacity to do it. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I feel like if you say one word, I'm gonna break down and cry. Sometimes you just have to stop. And another thing that I'm working on, and as a single mom, I think it's important that we have to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
I focus so much on the kids that sometimes I forget about me. And I've had to learn through these last 4 years that it's okay to do something for you, for yourself, Nancy. It's okay, Nancy. Because I would go buy myself something and be like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Let me go take it back.
That guilt be
baby.
Yeah.
And I've had to learn that I have to take care of me.
Yes.
Them kids gonna be just fine.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Take care, do some self, take your day off. I put my day in at the schoolhouse. I can't come today because I,
Mm-hmm.
I need a self-care day. I need a mental health day. And
Yeah.
I need to take care of Nancy today. So sometimes you have to just stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Miss on IG Live, Mrs. Archer, she says that guilt is ridiculous. So
I'm
Like
talking about, and
buyer's remorse.
it was just a little dress. It was just a little dress. And I
Just a
mean,
little
like,
something.
a little something.
yeah.
Like, oh, I shouldn't have got this.
Yeah.
I just should have got
Buyer's remorse. It's like,
yes.
the mama version,
Hmm.
be the let something come in that the kids want. They got to pay $200 for school, or they got something they got to take care of for sports, and you like, oh, listen, boom, boom, boom. And
Yeah.
you go get yourself a $25,
Do you hear me?
pedicure, and you like,
Okay.
I don't think I got this in the budget. And then the next second, them babies can tell you, Ma, I need
Yes.
this on my lunch account. I need a new
Hmm.
pair of shoe cleats or whatever. And you like, oh, let's go. But what happened to the budget
What
when it
happened to the
came to the
budget? It went out
ain't
the
no
window.
budget?
There's no budget when it comes to the kids.
None. In unlimited funds. You hear me?
But I am definitely doing a lot better with that. I'm,
That's good.
That's good.
doing a lot better with doing things for me. So
Uh,
as a single mom, you absolutely have to do that.
Yes.
I don't care if it's take yourself out to eat. I
Baby.
will take myself out to eat now.
That's
Right there
good.
by myself,
Yes.
having a good time.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because I tell my wife that I say you can't pour from an empty cup,
Yeah.
know, and you have to replenish yourself. Um, this book I'm reading, it's called The Way Jesus Loves God or something like that. I can't remember. It's a book we're reading for our men's group. But in the book, he was talking about the importance of rest, and he is saying how
Mm,
even God create, when God rested, and like who are we to
yeah.
just be 24 hours? He's like God even made us to where we supposed to sleep.
Yeah,
And he was saying like in the 1940s and 1950s, people were sleeping 9.5 hours.
man.
And then in the 70s and the 80s, it went down to 8.5 hours. And now it's like people
Two
sleeping.
seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
man, it looked like you pop right back up.
And feeling guilty for 8 hour. Because I do. I feel
yeah.
guilty. If I sleep
Ooh,
eight
I sleep
hours, I'm
long. I was
feeling
like, ooh, I
guilty.
ain't slept like that in a long time.
I'm over here like, what I neglect while I
Mhm.
was sleeping. That's what I be
Right,
doing. I mean,
right.
what happened? I tell people sometimes I'm too nosy. My body nosy. I'm
Mhm.
nosy. Just meaning that I don't want to miss what's going
Anything.
on with my
Mhm.
kids, a call, if somebody's messaging me or work or anything. I'm just trying to. So I'm literally going through, self-talk therapy where I'm talking
Right,
to myself, having to say, Aqueela, it's okay to rest. Aqueela, you have to recharge. Now, on the days you get 5 hours, that's okay. You don't have to make this a lifestyle, though. You get
right,
to have days where if you sleep in, don't be feeling bad. Similar to teaching myself to, to do stuff for myself. Self-talk therapy is a real thing.
it is. It is. And I'm even getting better at that, with the resting.
Good.
I know a couple of Saturdays, my son's soccer games were later in the day, and I slept in and I was like, I don't
It's
have a
good.
conference to go to. I don't have anything to do. And then I literally got back in the bed and was like, I'm gonna go back to sleep. The kids was like, when you gonna get up? And I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna go to sleep. And I was just, and my mom, she was like, oh my God, I mean, like she celebrates that. She
Yes.
look at my baby. That's what she
Yeah.
said.
Oh my God,
Yes,
I
that's
love
awesome.
it. Got to take care of ourselves. And we're
Oh
not
yeah.
taking, they say health is wealth. So if we
Oh
aren't
yeah.
taking care of
Yes.
ourselves, we can't take care of anyone else.
Yeah.
I remember my wife and our anniversary was a couple months ago, and we just went to get away, and just to sleep in with no alarm clock or no little
Oh God.
kids waking us up, or just it was just glorious, So we gotta do a better job of taking care of ourselves so we
Absolutely.
can, raise these kids. So yeah, so Nancy, this has been a phenomenal episode. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to be a guest, to be vulnerable and transparent about,
Yes.
a life experience with divorce. Can you let everyone know how to get in touch with you? Tell us about the music, all of the other good stuff.
Yes, if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can follow me on Facebook. My personal page is Nancy Michelle Taylor, and my artist page is Nancy Michelle. And you'll see the picture with the red hair. My Instagram is Nancy Michelle, MI_Shell. My TikTok is 81 Michelle Nancy. Nancy, it's one of those. But it'll pull up if you put in Nancy Michelle. It's gonna pull up. Um,
Yeah.
I have two singles that were actually birthed through this process. The first one is called My Help. I released in 2021. And the second one is Moment by Moment, which kind of gives a story of just my story through divorce and how
Mhm.
I made it moment by moment.
Mm.
So check me out. I got some getting ready to go back into the studio to work on some more music. So, but yeah, go follow me, Nancy Michelle.
Awesome. Awesome.
Because
Appreciate
I
you.
already did.
Yay!
Awesome. Love it. And I'll have everything linked in the description below. Aquila, let everyone know how they can get in touch with you.
You already know you can stalk me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as Aqueelamaddox, Coach Q, or the Inspirationalist. Nancy, it has been a pleasure. Thank you
Yes.
so much for sharing your story. Much love to you, much success, and everything that you go to do forward. And I'm praying in agreement with you that God will enlarge your territory of
Yes.
friendships and also different relationship dynamics. What God brings into our life is not always friends. The
Yeah.
category may be network, the category may be support, the category may be something else, but it still serves as a productive relationship in your life for whatever you need.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
Love it. Well, you've heard it here, Brave Hearts community. Go follow Nancy. And I think her TikTok following is crazy. You got like
Uh,
50,000 something. You got a
I'm
whole
almost there. Not quite. I'm almost there.
yeah, so go follow her on social media platforms. Go and check out her content, her music as well, and all that other good stuff. I'll have it in the description. If you are watching this via YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Share this with someone. You never know who needs to hear a testimony like Nancy. If you know, it might be in your group chat. Y'all got y'all group chat. Send this video in the group chat, and then your friends, all y'all can have something to talk about and learn and dissect from this episode. If you are listening to this via podcast on Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a rating and review. By doing so, put you on the drawing for a free Amazon gift card. Who doesn't like free stuff? This is Sean Heineman with special guest Nancy Michelle and my co-host Aquila Maddox, and we are out.